Afternoon and welcome back to the desk here at the SPL. My name is Fdot as always, and I'm joined by Anatoliy, and this is going to be our first broadcast together.
Good to be here with you, man.
Yeah, it's very exciting. We've been friends for a long time now. I mean, launch tournament probably?
Yeah, probably before the launch tournament, but talking a little bit online here and there specifically. Yep. Yeah, I remember you were watching in on some of our scrims before.
Yep.
Yeah, trying to learn and poke your head in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and Tolly was one of the original analysts for some of the newer viewers that, you know, might not be as well versed in the Smite scene. Anatoliy has been analyzing games for years now. I mean, I remember way back when a YouTube series called Tea Time with Tolly.
Tea Time with Tolly. Yep.
So
I used to do that when I would just be watching over replays, sipping on my tea, you know, listening to some really casual electronica music, ambient, you know, that kind of chill, lax.
Exactly. So that's a little bit of the background and the insight, and that's why we're able to take his ear a little bit for the analysis parts of the show. Today, we just saw Fnatic drop to Leftovers 2-0, but we've got Torpedo versus Cringe Crew. Now, these two squads, I think on paper, or if you come into the season, look relatively evenly matched, but Cringe Crew has really proven to be very dominant this season.
Yeah, right now they're sitting on third, 7-5. Right now, Torpedo 4-8, coming off a loss to Fnatic, 0-2 in week number 5. So it's going to be interesting to see how they transition coming off this bye week.
And one of the things that Torpedo has to do, they're sitting right now with only 4 wins, and they're a team that personally, I think, look a little bit more talented on paper, as I said. So looking to pivot things around this week, we actually have a change for Torpedo. The roster is the same, but the players have moved around a little bit. We see Moex and Gamehunter swapping sides of the lanes.
Which is very interesting. Gamehunter can play aggressive when needed, but he favors more of the farming specifically, and that's not a bad role swap for him to go in the hunter position, farm, and then come into the team fight late, whereas Moex likes to fight.
Moex has been struggling a little bit this season, so maybe the shift over the solo lane will be a positive thing. We'll take a look as we head into Picks and Bans. Cringe Crew versus Torpedo, coming at you now.
Good purification from Zeros. Snipe connected from Korinyo to confirm it. Bobat is dead. He's going to use purification while in the air. Big shield from Murrdurr keeps him alive though, and a cataclysm too. Great play from Murrdurr. Big ultimate onto Jungle, who gets knocked up as well. Evaporated. Drums of Warcraft and Cherry-O-Bobat actually to find that one.
That's what can happen when Torpedo has everything firing on all cylinders. Right now, they only have 4 wins and 8 losses, so they're going to have to see if this role swap will turn things around for them. Today, Cringe Crew will be on the order side. They get first pick, and they know, whether or not they know if Gamehunter has made the role swap or not at this point, it doesn't matter because Gamehunter plays Apollo anywhere.
He's very scary in the Apollo. You leave the lane for one wave, there goes your tower. So they respect the Gamehunter's Apollo in this situation, banning it right away. In response, Torpedo going to ban away the Khepri.
The Khepri just brings so much to the team, both, I mean, offensively and defensively. People talk a lot about how Khepri doesn't have a true initiation, and he doesn't really, but it doesn't matter because he's got all the other tools.
Yeah, he has really good space control with the root. He has damage reduction with his second ability, the pull, and the silence with his first grab, and then his ultimate, which will resurrect. We do have the Baka ban and the Naj shot for Torpedo.
So taking a look just at Cringe Crew's bans here, both Bakasura and Apollo, they're looking at Gamehunter specifically. They're looking at that solo lane. So Torpedo making that swap here, that might throw Cringe Crew off a little bit in the picks and ban phase. Bans are gone. The first pick for CC. The order side will opt for.
There's a lot of options on the table. There's a lot of global presence gods like the Thors, the Athenas, the Giannis's, or they could elect for something different, like going for the Chronos flex position. You know, it could go duo, could go middle, depending on how the soul lane wants to do things. Could go there as well.
Yeah, I mean, this Chronos, this has done a lot of things. You know, you mentioned solo lane. That's interesting. How viable are the mages over there in the short lane?
Right now, it's been pretty good, especially if you go Purple Pot early on Chronos. He has a lot of damage, and the enemy, if they ever invade into you and you expect that, especially if you start off blue buff, if you're afraid of the invade, you just start blue buff, and then you're safe, as long as they don't invade you right off the bat, because most invades come from mid-harpies into your blue, as we do have the Huyi and the Thor in response for Torpedo.
So with the Chronos selection on Cringe Crew, if Moex is going to be over in that solo lane, this might, you know, again, as you said, that solo Chronos is even more attractive. Athena will be paired alongside with Chronos, whether directly in the lane or otherwise. And of course, she can be in any lane she wants at a moment's notice. And Batz, just the disruption in the jungle.
If Cringe Crew can play the Hunbats the same way Sherio played Hunbats the last set, then it's going to be really solid. We'll see what the middle is here. It might be Chronos, might be something else. We do have Geb in response for Torpedo. Very nice, safe pick.
And I like how quickly they went for that. It was just immediate. All right, we're going to select. They have Hunbats and it Geb.
Yeah, they take it right away. Now, there's a strategy behind that. Whenever you pick a god that quickly, you don't want to give the team too much time to react. There's about 40 seconds or so to choose your god, but whenever you're the team that's picking in less than 3 seconds, now you're giving them the enemy less time to think about their pick.
It's just the hot seat. They keep going. And coming into the bans, it's a little bit less probably stressful when you're thinking about your bans as far as your picks, right?
Yeah, picks are definitely, like, you can go easily through it. The bans are a little bit more trickier, especially third and fourth bans, because you already have your first 3 core. Now it's like, okay, what can they add to this first 3? And that's when the teams that have done their homework will really shine. You got
a lot of the boxes already checked off, and as you can see, Torpedo, they take a look, Chronos, Athena, Hunbats. There's an assumption that has to be made if you're Torpedo. They're assuming that Chronos will not be in the solo lane, or the mid lane, so you see the Nox and the Bologna ban. Torpedo's really expecting this Chronos to be in the Hunter position.
Exactly. And now with the Nox ban, we do have the Scylla pickup. Nox did receive a buff earlier on.
Yep.
So maybe that's something that Torpedo played against in scrims and they didn't want to deal with in this specific match. Thor Scylla really synergizing well together too.
Yeah, the 1-2 punch, the combination that we've seen so many times over and over again. Part of the reason NinjaBobat gets a ban out, just a big old stun coming out of nowhere from the jungle into a big old bang from the mid lane.
And on top of that, the Geb is going to be able to protect the Scylla very importantly. Neith and Tier being locked in for Cringe Crew. We still don't know where this Chronos or this Neith is. Those two are flex picks. You're going to have Neith in middle with Hunbats or Chronos in the middle lane with the Hunbats. Tier, very safe pick in the solo lane. A lot of solo laners were banned. We did have Baka banned, Guan Yu, Bologna, Vamana's open, Amaterasu is open. We'll see what Torpedo elect to do here.
And it's going to be a Hercules. So the one god in solo that you didn't mention will be selected here for Torpedo. So the Hercules comes out. And again, just to reiterate, we'll see it in a moment, but we have a Gamehunter in solo and Moax in the Hunter role. Hercules will be selected. Torpedo have their lineup. Cringe Crew have their lineup. Let's take it to the battleground of the gods and see how this one winds up. Up in the ultimate, not going to find anyone. There's the combo. Kero off the assist. There's Kero, double kill from the side lane. Comes out onto Dimmy. Kero winds up with a triple kill at the 10-minute mark. Repikas lands down. Half health for the Titans. Axioz takes out 2.
That is it. Axioz and Repikas, the team are respawning.
Previously London Conspiracy, now, well, they've downgraded their name, but they've upgraded their talent. Cringe Crew has looked so damn good. 7-5, and honestly, they're performing a lot better than that win-loss would really tell you.
And I think most of that relies on EmilZy, the way he's been able to rotate specifically from dual lane, allowing Shaggyshenk to do his thing, free farming whenever he wants to, make the aggressive plays whenever he has the advantage, allows for Cringe Crew to be in the current standings that they are.
You know, it's interesting. Cringe Crew, Torpedo did the same thing, honestly. Titan split up and imploded, right? And everybody went elsewhere. Torpedo and Cringe Crew both grabbed one member, right? You've got Murrdurr, previously Kanye Life, and Cringe Crew. They've got Repikas, and coming from a team like Titan, such a storied team, you would expect, all right, Cringe Crew, they've done very well this season, and it's all because of Repi. And honestly, it's not. Every individual on this team has stepped it up completely. Cringe Crew, don't even forget, they came into this season with a different accomplished solo laner. Zashu gets taken out, and Axioz is here and just steps right into the position very, very comfortably.
And that just goes to show like how motivated these teams are moving into DreamHack, moving into Worlds. They got a little bit of taste of it in the Super Regionals early on. They didn't quite make it, and now they really want to taste that.
And that was something that specifically Zashu was talking about, you know, and he was able to really voice that out, and I think a lot of people did as well. By inviting so many teams to Super Regionals, we got to see those middle of the pack and honestly lesser talented teams come to the LAN and experience what it's really like. And, you know, we've spoken to Zapmans and the Reels and everything like that, but it's a different experience. What's it like making that transition to LAN play versus online?
It's just, it opens the door for you. It changes like your whole mentality of how you play Smite in general. The late latency is different, the
Yep.
FPS is differently. You know, you might have been playing on a lesser machine and now you're playing on a really solid one. Once you get that LAN experience, you feed off of the energy of the crowd as well, specifically.
Look at what Kero's able to do there. He's just completely the threat of the Spirit Arrow root. It's not going to kill anybody, but once you're rooted, you're going to die, so there's no follow-up for those mid-harpies. Cringe Crew is able to pick up the left side just off of the initial push in the mid lane by itself.
In the dual lane side of things, we do have Cringe Crew being able to clear the way first, putting a little bit of pressure, but it's not too much. Boars are not available to be taken yet for Cringe Crew. They're just looking to maybe put tower poke or maybe poking out Torpedo just to get some potions off the board.
Shaggyshenk on the Chronos. Chronos versus Hou-Yi. Who really has the... Both of these characters are great at boxing. So which one are you looking at more?
I'm looking more towards like who can support better. In this situation, Athena can aggressively push in, and then that allows the Chronos to follow up, whereas the Hou-Yi can do the same thing that the Chronos can do, except that you have a Geb on one side.
Right.
Athena can dash, shield wall the wave. Geb can't do that.
Yeah, Geb's going to do the knockup that we just saw, and obviously the situation is a little bit different. Kero's going to backflip his way out of the crush, so no damage coming that way from Korinyo. Now, Korinyo's a character that has been very hot and cold. He's had some games where he just drives the bus and others where he's just not able to make an impact.
Yeah, in this game specifically, he's feeling very confident if he goes Soulstone Purple Pot. He
Yeah.
does have NinjaBobat going with a Red Pot, so if any member from Cringe Crew steps out of position, they can get instantly punished. Speaking of which, there's an invade on the back harpies of Torpedo. Crush does come out. Repikas feeling very aggressive, going to jump in and get Thor walled.
I mean, very aggressive. That's putting it lightly. Repikas jumped towards the enemy in their own jungle. Damage coming out onto Axioz. Moex pushes forward, and there it is. The kill onto Moex. First time in the solo lane. First time dying. First blood going to Cringe Crew.
This is not a good way to transition as your first time in the solo lane. I like the idea behind using the boulder for the CC immunity, preventing the Fearless from coming out. However, the Patience coming out of Axioz recognized that he still didn't need to Fearless right there in that situation, held on to it, allowed the boulder to connect, Fearless him outside the tower. First blood going to Cringe Crew.
EmilZy staying aggressive here. A lot of damage coming out from Gamehunter onto the young support, and there's out of nowhere the jungler, NinjaBobat, trying to do what he can. There's the stun and the ultimate. The suns come down. Gamehunter, one kill for him as EmilZy takes the spill. Shaggyshenk, nothing he could do there. Only level 4. Can't really go too deep without that rewind available.
This was a really good return kill for Torpedo because not only was it on Gamehunter, it was on the Hou-Yi with Transcendence. That's going to set him up really well in the mid game. It's going to allow him to finish it earlier on than expected and allow him to maybe outtrade the Chronos once the supports leave the table.
And that's one of the things that the mages, the mage hunters, whether it's Chronos or in a different meta of Freya, right? That's what they have either as an advantage against the stacking items of the hunters. There is no real, you can go do more, but there's no, it's a much different story as to the race to 1400 gold to back and get your trans.
Exactly, and that's where, like, as the Chronosists and the Freyas, you have to worry about, you know, whether they go Wingblade, Fatalis, whatever it is that you have the speed boost. However, you have the damage spike as a physical hunter, and you also have the ability damage early on.
And Hou-Yi, definitely a character that Hou-Yi's interesting. He's got a lot of the ability damage early on with the ricochet and the potential there. And then as the game gets later and later, well, the ricochet doesn't fall off, but that Mark of the Crow makes him so difficult to box.
Exactly. The more hits you can hit on a target that is marked of the Golden Crow, the harder they're going to be taking that damage. As we do see Gamehunter backing, does he have enough? He does have enough, I believe, to finish off that Transcendence. There it goes.
Yeah, so that's the start. You want to keep an eye on this Hou-Yi and just watch how much harder Gamehunter's going to go ahead and start swinging. Shaggyshenk, on the other hand, forced to stick around in lane. He's about, well, he's actually still kind of close. He's not the one that died. EmilZy was, so they're separated by about 100 gold, give or take.
Exactly, and it's going to be curious to see if this Chronos will elect to go for the Doom Orb or if he's going to play it super. As I say that the Doom Orb is finished, so now he's going to start his stacking item, trying to be able to trade with Gamehunter in this situation.
So we've seen a shift away from the Doom Orb. At the beginning of Season 3, Doom Orb was, I mean, it was the new black in the mid lane. That's what everybody was rocking, everybody was buying, and as the meta, as not even the meta, but as the game sort of matured for Season 3 and junglers became a little bit more active, mages started dying more, we saw the shift towards like Dynasty Plate Helm and such. Why is the Doom Orb still so attractive in the Hunter role?
Well, you're trying to win these trades in the Hunter position. We do have Repikas, however,
take a look
trying
at
to
Repi.
gank.
Repi's going to jump over. Well aware is everybody. There's 2 ultimates coming out. Fear no evil. Fear no spirit arrow. Axioz gets the kill onto Moex off the assist of the jungler and the hunter from all the way around. And Thor's going to go up. Thor's going to come down. EmilZy's in some trouble. There's the stun. Over the top comes Korinyo. EmilZy trying to get out. Here comes the rotation from Repi. And Korinyo takes out EmilZy. That's the 2nd death for the young support.
Really good synergy between NinjaBobat and Korinyo, utilizing the CC, setting up the Silla.
Murrdurr.
However, Murrdurr's going to take a spill as well. So far, this has been a 1-for-1 trade after the earlier death from Moex. So technically 2-for-1.
Korinyo gets out of jail. Not a problem. And beautiful purification from the monkey to avoid the flip from Moex. So no displacement done to the jungler, and he's able to walk out of there absolutely no problem. But nice little turnaround. 3-2 read the kills after all said and done. And Axioz started the party. Torpedo tried to respond by getting a kill of their own, but Cringe Crew again responds in kind.
The capitalization, the return kill was really nice. They needed every single tool in their arsenal to get that Hercules kill. They threw the Neith ulti. They had Batz come from behind, not in the side, from behind, as we do have Hercules just trying to clear the wave and probably back or do his blue buff is actually up right now.
Exactly. And he wants to clear the wave as fast as possible so he can actually afford to get that blue buff. Because Axioz has shown, and here he goes, he's going to follow Moex everywhere. He is the bully right now.
He has his own blue buff, so this is a situation where you clear the wave, you poke your head around the corner like, hey, what's up? It's only level 10 right now, so he's not too worried about dying in this situation. Everyone is around his level, or actually lower. Actually, he's the highest level of the game, sitting at level 10.
I mean, even with just the warrior tabby, which is an offensive item, Tyr still, he's got some natural tankiness, and the heal, you can never really forget about how it's a burst heal.
You have to respect the heal. Now, early on, Tyr struggles a little bit since his heal is not as strong, but once you hit level 7, having that level 4 heal, it's very strong. It allows you to win every single trade in the solo lane, which is why a lot of top-tier solo laners will lean on Tyr as a safety pick.
Right.
Baskin hasn't played Tyr in a while, but that's definitely a very good go-to god for him.
I mean, Baskin's been relatively aggressive and comfortable, so if Tyr is the safety pick, Baskin's probably not in the position to really go for that. And something that I've been thinking about the entire game, honestly, talking about safety picks, I'm glad you brought that up. When we see new players play in the solo lane, it's always give him a chalk, give him a Bologna, nice and simple. Hercules is not the hardest god in the world, but he's certainly... Hold that thought. We'll finish the conversation on solo lane as the aggression from Cringe Crew comes from the left side in the mid lane, but a great cataclysm out of Murrdurr stops everybody in their tracks. Why Hercules and not something a little bit more simple?
So in the solo lane specifically, Hercules struggles getting consistent pulls and pushes. So you have to practice Hercules relatively well enough to get that. There's a little bit of a travel time on your pull as well. So even though you might be in the zone to be pulled, you might not necessarily actually get the pull if they step out of it as it comes towards the end of the line.
Yeah, so the Hercules, I mean, we haven't seen much of him in Season 3, let alone on a new player. Why hasn't Herc been so popular just yet?
Well, there's also the clunkiness as... Oh, hold that thought.
Wow.
We do have Axioz playing very aggressive, just getting a little bit of poke off. Half health is Moex as the Tyr just disengages already at full health. Sitting at level 12 to Moex is level 10.
3-0-0, an entire 1,000 gold up against his opposition. With the Breastplate of Valor, Tyr can afford to go into the threshold of the tower and get some poke out. And actually, Tyr did more damage than the tower did to Tyr, that's just a rough proposition for Moex to be.
Yeah, Hercules is struggling right now. He's going to need a little bit of assistance. However, if they cater too much to the Hercules, this is going to open up opposite sides of the map for Gold Fury specifically. So sometimes you just have to let your soul lane suffer for a little bit, not to lose the Gold Fury.
I mean, honestly, this is kind of the test where Cringe Crew aren't going for that Gold Fury. So Torpedo, they're trying to help out. They're paying a lot of attention. Everybody's paying attention to the soul lane, but neither team is capitalizing on the heavy weight on the right side of the map. Is that just because it's early in the game, it's 9 minutes, there's just too many other objectives going on, or?
Well, it's up to Cringe Crew to be the ones to make the play because your Tyr is ahead, you have the Neith ulti coming out of mid lane, and then you have, if the Batz comes on top of that, which they did earlier on for the second death of Hercules, that's the play that you can have on solo. It's very difficult to kill either god once they get online, so they still have a small window to get the Hercules kill.
There's the taunt coming out from the invade. Fear No Evil is going to send Hercules to the left, and the Purification will send Bobat to the front. But a jump forward, and Repikas jumps down. Goomba stomps onto the jungler. There's the mid lane. Ultimate out of Korinyo. Not going to be enough to find the kill. Moex very low. Has to get out of here. Cringe Crew, they are so deep. Axioz with his 4th kill of the contest. By the way, there's 5 kills in total, and Axioz, the solo laner, has 100% kill participation this early on.
Yeah, to have this kind of performance out of the soul lane is going to set you up for an easy transition into the mid-game.
Axioz finally gets punished. Korinyo throws a couple of spells over the wall. Cringe Crew, I liked the aggression to a certain point. At some point, you got to pump the brakes.
And this is something that Hercules will capitalize on. If you overextend even the slightest, you get pull pushed, allowing your Scylla player to follow up with the root into the crush. A lot of damage. Right now, Tyr has no magical defense, electing to go into more physical defense.
And that's really just, he's just strictly thinking about the lane?
No, not necessarily. He's also leaning more towards the fact that they have the Thor, they have the Hui, who's at level 12 as well. The Hui with the mark of the Golden Crow, it's going to do a lot of damage in the mid to late game. So he wants to be able to stick into the backline, stick on Gamehunter, and not take too much poke damage in return.
So coming out here, 11.5 on the clock, or just about 5-3 read the kills, as Cringe Crew has been extremely, extremely offensive. Honestly, in both terms of the phrase. They've been offensive and aggressive, and they've also just been downright dirty when it comes to how aggressive they've been against Torpedo. 4-1-1 for the solo laner. Axioz has been putting on a clinic here. To be fair, Moix in the solo lane, kind of a little bit fresh, but Axioz taking advantage of it.
Absolutely, and why not, right? In this situation, they haven't been able to steal any buffs, but they've been trying. They saw Axioz early on at level 10, poking his head around the corner blue buff earlier on around level 12, tried to go for the steal. They forced out a lot of cooldowns there. They got a little bit too ahead of themselves getting a return kill, but it didn't really matter at the end of the day. They didn't give up too much for it.
We've been talking about the solo lane a lot, and for good reason, but I don't want to let this go by. There is a blink on the Scylla, excuse me. That is an interesting choice. Blink, Scylla, I mean, is this Laz's?
Okay, so the mindset here, my best guess, is the fact that Geb can blink and initiate. If Scylla's too far behind, she can blink and initiate as well with her root. Because the travel time and the distance for the root it's a little bit short to mid-range. Right there, we see the blink root, the crush follow-up, the Scylla ultimate not necessary as the double tap was good enough to secure the kill.
Korinyo gets out of there. 1 kill, 1 combo right there in the flesh. We see how the blink happens, and you know, it's just about the surprise factor.
Exactly.
That
Sometimes
surprise factor.
Lasses will do like Blink Anubis, Blink Poseidon. There's a lot of guys you can run Blink on to get that surprise factor, like you mentioned. We do have Thor in the air. The backflip is down for Kero.
Bobat's going to land behind Kero, but Kero is now surrounded. He finds the one exit, gets stunned out, double tap, and able to follow up is Bobat. But a strong root will keep him at bay, and now EmilZy going to show up and just create the separation. Nobody is following my mid laner, says EmilZy. And hey, Axioz just walking through the jungle. If Torpedo decide to turn around and start that reinitiation, they can.
He actually was chasing down Korinyo in the backline, forcing the purification from him earlier. Didn't want to re-engage on the 3 members from Torpedo that were disengaged. Elected to push the wave, and now he put a lot of pressure on that solo lane tower, getting it down to about 20% health.
You know, it's funny. I think if Axioz didn't die in that initial almost Phoenix dive, I think we might have seen Axioz turn around and look for a Fearless, but he learned his lesson. He's going to be aggressive, but not over-aggressive. There's a difference between playing your lead and letting your lead play you.
Yeah, just ABC, always be clearing. You know, you got the play, you got the purification clear, and now he goes back to solo in the front. So you do have a dash taunt coming out of EmilZy onto Korinyo. His purification was down, however, the Geb shield allowed him to get out of that one.
Yeah, Murrdurr very, very quick on the Geb shield, able to really just secure a lot. Repikas gets hit with the mark, doesn't want to get stunned, and walks out of the jungle. But there, blink out of the way of Cataclysm. Give it up for Repikas and the very quick lightning reflexes.
Really nicely done by the Batz. However, the trade does favor the Geb because you traded a 90-second cooldown for a much longer cooldown. So now you don't have to worry about the blink initiation coming out of Repikas. So your team fighting around the jungle, it's safe, relatively safe.
And blink Batz is almost extremely, like, necessary is the word I'm looking for, because Batz has one of the slower jumps in the game. Not only does it take a long time to get off the ground, but you see him in the sky 12 years before he lands, and then there's the startup time of Fear No Evil, and we've all been interrupted in our casual games. Having that blink Fear No Evil, that's how you use Batz as an initiator. So with that down, Cringe Crew will look elsewhere for their initiation. Is it Axioz's job now?
It's possible. because without the blink initiation, you can't jump away. So you don't want to jump in and use Fear No Evil. So you have to use different options. You could have Athena initiate. That's very easy. Dash taunt is just a no-brainer. Axioz has options as well. He has his ultimate. He has Fearless. Axioz, not caring that the Hercules is here, just basically proxying the wave, demanding some respect into attention. Axioz wants somebody to rotate here to allow the rest of his team to put pressure on Gold Fury.
The experience in between these two solo laners has eked out, has closened up a little bit. There's about half level or 3/4 of a level there, but the gold remains the same still. 1,000 gold separating these players. And with that in mind, Moex knows that he's not winning this lane. He knows that he's not going to be the carry. Kero! Wow, the poke out of Bobat's huge, and he wants some more. Up in the sky, gonna land way on the backside, doesn't find a target, but he separates. And there's Moex from the right-hand side, right on through with the Falcon kick. And now Torpedo have the numbers advantage. Axioz surrounded. He has 1 death, and they're trying to make it 2. Stuck here, the flip is strong, and there were 4 players surrounding him, and Tyr don't care.
Perfect dash away from the Scylla ultimate, also using Lawbringer through the right side mid-harpies for his safety.
Yep.
Bought a little bit of time. Perfect rotation from Moex. He made up for his early deficit of a lead. As long as he makes these plays where he comes from behind, capitalizing on the fact that the Neith didn't have the backflip. Thor missed the dunk, but did cover the option. EmilZy getting rooted into place. Thorwald as well, taking a lot of damage, but looks like she's going to be able to get at this one.
The 2 players that Torpedo have been successful in catching out have been the 2 tank characters. I mean, EmilZy, even this early on, he goes the tank boots on Athena, which is usually players try to capitalize on the lack of early tankiness on the supports. EmilZy shuts that down by going reinforced Greaves and then right into the Urchin.
Which is surprising because usually EmilZy will elect for Traveler Shoes, trying to get the mobility. And whenever you can have an Athena go from dual lane to mid lane and really quickly setting up the rest of your team for those dash taunts, that's really efficient. And so I'm really surprised to see how successful Torpedo has been in terms of killing this tanky Athena early game.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a little bit rough, but they're able to do so. And, you know, going back to Moex, I want to talk about the itemization. The Runic Shield. Absolutely love it. He understands what his role is in that solo lane. I was a little bit worried about the shift from Hunter to solo. Maybe Moex was going to be looking to still be that carry, but it doesn't look like that. It seems like he understands his role.
Yeah, and it's not exactly going to be a Runic Shield. It's going to be the Void
Shield. Oh, the Void
Shield.
Shield.
Yes. He wants to be able to survive against the Neith, the Hunbats, and the Tyr. It's going to allow him also the Thor, because you have the physical protection debuff to 20, so now your Thor is going to capitalize. The Hercules and Thor are going to be able to dive the backline. They're going to be like the Bash Brothers from D3 The Mighty Ducks, right? So they're just going to be 2v2ing the rest of the way. Yeah,
it's really all about the damage coming out there. And Herc does a bunch of damage by himself. Obviously, the boulder is insane, a lot of base damage, and 100% scaling on that boulder. And so just the pure damage coming out from there, able to build a little bit of power, but still the defensive option. He could have gone Shifter Shield if he wanted to be really aggressive, or Transcendence like we've seen on Chalk for some reason, but going the Void Shield shows that, all right, I understand what my god does, I'll have to deal some damage, but it's really all about the team.
The only option, hold on, though, is we have a lot of engage onto Murrdurr.
Nah, he'll generally be fine. Just ulting the Geb by itself, a little bit curious there. There just wasn't enough blue jerseys around there to really make the change, and especially on the Geb, the Hunbat's passive is not completely negated, but Geb's passive, where he doesn't take as much damage from the crit, you're not going to get lucky there with Hunbats like you would on other characters.
That's a good point that you make, and that's also going to take away the late game options for the Hunter position. We do have Murrdurr the second time around, however, not going to be so lucky. He does use the Geb ultimate. Lawbringer being used, securing the kill, though.
Kero through the wall, finds the route that eventually winds up with a kill onto the solo lane. Kero gets dunked down by NinjaBobat, trying to find the stun, but Bobat now surrounded all the way on the enemy side of the map. There's the slow coming out from the monkey, stun coming out from Shaggy, and Repikas combines with the entire team to take out Bobat.
That was a beautiful shell being used by EmilZy, keeping Kero alive. The Thor dunk, the Herc boulder was used onto the Neith, allowed her to survive those 2 big ultimates, especially a Void Shield on top of that.
And I love this play coming out from Cringe Crew here. The teleport comes out. Moex is already here, so it doesn't matter that the teleport is down. The Suns come out, and Cringe Crew do successfully confirm the Gold's Fury. And Moex is going to pay for being this far up. Gets a triple stun and a triple push. But it looks like Cringe Crew have enough damage to take out the Warrior under the tower. Not quite, thanks to the Geb Shield. Murrdurr shows up in the nick of time, and the solo lane Moex finds an exit.
The healing and the Geb Shield was just too much for Cringe Crew to find the kill onto Moex. Gamehunter gonna try to poke out Shaggyshenk here, as we do have EmilZy trying to save him. Shaggyshenk trying to bait around the corner, though. They could find a kill. The Sanctuary being used. Is it gonna be enough to buy time? He does find the dunk, and now can he run away?
EmilZy's got to find, taking a look at the cooldowns, there's nothing available. It's all basics for the support, so this will likely allow Gamehunter to get out. Shield wall is available. That's a kill if he can get it. There's a taunt into the shield wall and the reach. EmilZy does find it, and you hear that? Yup, that's Bobat.
Yep, not able to find the stun under the tower. We do have Geb around the corner. The knockup is good. Can he find the wall around the corner, however? The Tectonic Rift coming up in 2 seconds. Double tap not connected. The body block was nice by both members out of Torpedo Gable. So trading 2 for 1 in that situation and getting the tier 1 mid tower is Cringe Crew.
Yeah, the rotation from Korinyo, necessary, I guess, because he wound up getting the last kill. But the rotation from Korinyo of the mid lane on Torpedo is a bad move for the squad, as Cringe Crew is able to take out not just the tier 1, which is sort of expected, but also the tier 2.
That's a good recognition by Cringe Crew. You lost Gamehunter in the situation. No, I'm sorry. You lost EmilZy that dove Gamehunter in that situation, and he bought a lot of time because the Thor chased him down, Korinyo chased him down, and Murrdurr chased him down. Now you leave your middle tower exposed. Cringe Crew recognizes, extends it to the tier 2. I'm assuming Torpedo didn't really respect the fact that Cringe Crew can do that, and they got punished for it really hard.
And I'm going to ask you the easiest question you'll get all season. EmilZy's death and 2 mid lane towers, was it worth?
Hashtag worth.
Exactly. So Cringe Crew go ahead and they extend their lead even more so. 21:40 on the clock. They're leading by just a kill, but they're leading by a lot more gold. 5,800. That is not the first step, but the second step. They took 1 and 2 steps in the same engagement pretty much, able to collect the 2,000 combined gold from the towers, plus a couple of kills. Now Cringe Crew finally have a lead solidified. What's their next move?
Their next move is to still play aggressive. They force a blink out of the Scylla in the mid lane. EmilZy now looking to counter ward, and this is what they need to do. They need to control vision around Golthier. Golthier is respawning in about 2 minutes.
There's the blink initiation coming out from the jungler, but a quick hammer over the wall.
Not much to be gained from there, but like I mentioned, the vision control once Golthier is coming around the corner is very important. You want to find somebody rotating in. They're going to play aggressive as Cringe Crew, looking for somebody maybe at Bike Harpies, as we do have Gamehunter aggressing onto Shaggyshenk.
Gamehunter has looked, you know, it's funny, we've spoken a lot about Moex and his transition in the solo lane, and just sort of let Gamehunter do it because Gamehunter's just sort of doing it. Right now, though, all of the attention from CC is over here in the left lane. It's not Gamehunter by himself. It's going to be up to Torpedo to defend as a unit. And since everybody but the solo lane shows up, Cringe Crew see that they have 4-on-4 here, and there's a little bit of a backup. They're waiting for the minions to catch up in the lane.
Yeah, and they have a lot of good tower pushing control. They have the Chronos with his accelerate. They have the Neith with red buff specifically as well. So this is going to be a nice push coming out of Cringe Crew as long as they can find a good initiation with the Athena dash taunt. We do have Geb blinking into the backline as well. Scylla ultimate not connecting. Thor's up in the air.
Shaggyshenk avoids the stun and is able to deal out the damage onto Murrdurr. There's the flip. Moex doing his job on the backside. And meanwhile, everybody looking at Kero. Repikas low. And the turnaround. Force out the Sanctuary. And there's the last shot. Kero able to take out NinjaBobat. The 3rd death for Torpedo's jungler. Axioz going deep. Korinyo down, and Cringe Crew, everyone alive, low or not. Torpedo has lost 3, make that 4. Axioz with 2, and the tower will fall.
What a good play coming out of Cringe Crew. They were able to dive the tower and disengage at the same time. They knew what they could get away with. And this is how you have to play as a team. You have to be aggressive, but you know how to disengage from your aggressiveness and take advantage. They got the towers from middle. They got the towers from dual lane. Gold Fury's respawning in less than 30 seconds. That's their next goal.
Perfect timing coming out from Cringe Crew. And I mean, you've played on teams, you've coached teams. That's no mistake that the towers fall down right before Gold Fury spawns.
That's the worst feeling in the world. When you're losing your towers and Gold Fury is coming right around the corner and you have no vision around there, so you don't know if you're getting baited into the Gold Fury, somebody has to face check that. And if your support's not there and you're squished out to do it, that it just becomes like problem after problem after problem.
Cringe Crew going to go ahead and pick up the red buff. They'll head right towards that Gold Fury, as you said. Murrdurr around the corner. He might be aware. but he's not going to show up anytime soon.
No, so it looks like Cringe Crew is going to look to bait a little bit.
Yeah.
They don't want to fully commit to this. It looks like Torpedo is going to spot this around the corner, so Cringe Crew is going to disengage a little bit.
And it's just the dance. It's just waiting for everything to happen. We see this so often by Gold Fury and by Fire Giant. Neither team really wants to commit. And instead, Cringe Crew will look elsewhere. Blink coming out from Korinyo. And, you know, I like this Blink on Scylla because it's not... When you force the Blink from Repikas, it's a win. When you force the Blink from Scylla, she bought that Blink to be offensive and defensive. So it's not a big deal.
Exactly, and that's a good tool. That's the second time that the Blink Solo Ultimate Blink was used. Cringe Crew's second Gold Fury being taken 25-minute mark. If we look at the graphs here, we'll see how much ahead they really are right now. So 11,000 gold lead, 11,000 experience lead as well.
What an explosion. 5 digits already. And Axioz starting the fight all by his lonesome. He'll wait for his team to show up. Triple bounced. And that's the first time that Axioz has really had a big chunk taken out of him. He's been level 20 since, I don't know, minute 5? Slight exaggeration. But what I loved about that Gold Fury take was 2 players zoning, 2 completely different segments. Axioz was all the way in the middle lane. Everybody avoids poor Murrdurr. But Bobat's up, looking for a target. Don't be surprised if he doesn't go aggressive here.
Yeah, the Blink Ultimate from Murrdurr, there wasn't much follow-up for the rest of his team, so they're just going to disengage. They're a little bit on the down and down, so they have to allow Cringe Crew to make the mistake here. It's good to play aggressive, but not when all the cooldowns from Cringe Crew are available. All the ultimates are available. A lot of relics are available. The only relic not available is the shell from the Athena. Yeah,
Torpedo's looking for the individual picks. They really need to isolate Repikas out of position, or, you know, even at this point in the game, how tanky EmilZy is. If you catch out the Athena, you have to take the looks that you're given.
If you can force the Athena ulti defensively early in the team fight, then maybe you can focus the squishy in the next stages of the team fight that will progress afterwards.
And also, not for nothing, I mean, we frequently see Athena's do the solo lane where you get taken down to red, you base, and then you ult back in for a second health bar by destroying that ultimate choice out of EmilZy early on. If Torpedo can find the pick, you take that off the table as well. If I'm Torpedo, I'm specifically looking to get rid of Repikas' ability to initiate, get rid of that blink. Where are you looking for to really neuter what Cringe Crew is able to do?
Yeah, you just have to spread out. You can't allow the whole team of Torpedo to get AoE ultied by Repikas. The Blink ulti is too strong of a threat. But on the flip side, there's a lot of people besides Repikas that can initiate as well. You have the Blink tier. You have the Neith World Weaver. You have the dash taunt coming out of the Athena. It's very scary right now if you're Torpedo. You just have to spread out and pick your poisons.
Pick your poison is probably the best way to phrase that. Is Cringe Crew has had a hold on this game from the absolute first minute. The Hunter player for Torpedo is now playing over in the solo lane, maybe just for one game, maybe for the set, maybe permanently. But Moex was just not looking too pretty early on as Axioz was able to take first blood and transition that into an entire win of the lane. And honestly, Tier has been a big part of why Cringe Crew is ahead in the first place.
It has been, but there were still other options that Torpedo could have capitalized on despite the deficit from Moex.
We just didn't see it.
Yeah, Cringe Crew getting a
That
really
was super
fast Fire Giant. Thor is up in the air, however.
Problems, and this might be the last fight of the game. Honestly, Toli, immediately, Shaggyshenk picks up a triple for the Hunter, and he's turning around. Bobatz gets Sanctuary, and Shaggyshenk just looks directly in the other direction. Repikas and Shaggy going under the tower. Shaggy throwing all of his abilities out, and he's just chunking the Hunter. Here comes EmilZy, here comes Repi, Sanctuary forced out, overhand smash, just gonna miss, but Axioz pushed into the wall, shoves Gamehunter into the locker. Everyone's dead on Torpedo, and Cringe Crew are gonna take out the Phoenix, walk right on through, and take the game.
Yeah, this is definitely game Murrdurr respawning in 10 seconds. There's no way he could defend. First game going into Cringe Crew's favor. They're gonna extend their lead to 8-5 for the second half.
Very, very well played from Cringe Crew. You know, we've seen this team come from last year and just turn around and pivot into a positive direction. What was the biggest thing for you in that one game?
I would say the way EmilZy has been dash taunting, setting up his team. Everybody's been playing really well. Repikas has been playing well. Axioz taking advantage of Moex's inexperience in the solo lane specifically to start was a good way to start the pace of the game for them.
Got to keep